You're looking at the picture of your newly bought, exorbitantly expensive car. Why the picture? Because the car hasn't been delivered yet, but you can already imagine the speed at which your Lamborghini will swallow all those miles of the interstate. Now, back to reality. Your car will never be delivered because it sank to the very bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. But before that, it had burned into ashes. It sounds paradoxical, I know. But that's exactly what happened in February 2022 to a Japanese shipping company called MOL. Then, a tragic accident wiped out over 4,000 cars in one go. The cargo ship Felicity Ace was carrying thousands of vehicles from Germany to the US. But while passing near the Azores archipelago, the ship caught fire. It could have started with a faulty lithium battery in an electric car, and then there was no stopping it. The entire crew had to be evacuated, and the ship itself was burning uncontrollably for a week. Then, people faced the next challenge. How do you even move a ship this size after such enormous damage? Salvage teams spent another week trying to figure it out. Well, they didn't need to bother. On March 1st, the ship suddenly capsized and sank to the ocean floor. Obviously, its precious cargo went down with it. And by precious, I mean $438 million worth of cars, including 20 Lamborghini Huracans, 190 Bentleys, and 1,117 Porsches. As for the ship itself, it was worth a whopping $24.5 million. It was a terrible loss for MOL. On the other hand, the company is worth $12.2 billion, so they'll bounce back. Now, all those luxury cars are resting peacefully at the bottom of the ocean. The fish in that area must have been ecstatic to get a fresh shipment of Lambos. They just need to figure out how to work the pedals. Let me show you another expensive thing that ended up stranded at the bottom of the ocean because of a tragic accident. It's a 45-foot catamaran called the Carolina Viking. It was abandoned by its crew after a huge leak on board. It happened at the end of 2024. The crew of the Swedish-flagged Leopard 45 catamaran reported water pouring in. Their electrical system had totally failed too. Soon, the crew figured out that the leak was coming from the starboard engine compartment. It was bad. The water was coming in through the rudder stalk, and it was flooding the boat fast. So, the skipper made an emergency call, and after talking to MRCC Cape Verde, he decided to head toward the Cape Verde Islands. This destination was about 300 nautical miles away. They were moving upwind using just one engine. Sadly, it didn't solve the problem. A few other yachts that were nearby changed course to offer help, and it turned out the crew really needed it. Hours later, the catamaran's electrical system switched off completely. The skipper had to change the course, heading toward a nearby yacht, the Cinderella di San Remo, which was able to rush to their aid. In the afternoon, after realizing things weren't going to get better, the 5-person crew made the call to abandon the ship. So, they transferred to the Cinderella di San Remo. As for the vessel, it was just left in the middle of the ocean, getting flooded. Another unexpected thing you can find underwater was actually planned. Atlanta has found a cool way to reuse its old subway cars. Instead of just scrapping them, they sink them into the Atlantic Ocean and create artificial reefs, turning them into underwater condos for marine life. The thing is, the state of Georgia has been working on creating artificial reefs for more than 40 years. They've been sinking stuff like old ships, tugboats, concrete, and lots of other stuff to give fish and other sea creatures a place to live. Normally, the ocean floor along Georgia's coast is just a bunch of sand and shells, so there's not much for fish to hide in or grow around. That's why creating such mini ecosystems where fish can find shelter, spawn, and just do their own thing is so important. One day, they decided to add some of Atlanta's old subway cars to the mix. Those cars were retired and ready to be disposed of. The city teamed up with Georgia's Coastal Resources Division and MARTA, the transit agency, and turned the cars into reef-building material. They had to make sure the cars were safe first, so they removed all the hazardous materials and contaminants. Then, they carefully picked a spot about 23 miles offshore, called El Reef. Then, the cars were loaded onto a barge and delivered to their destination. Now, they're sitting about 60 feet under the surface. They're going to add 6 more subway cars to the reef in the future. Now, let's move to a very different place. It's just as abandoned, but not underwater. Ever heard about Salar de Uyuni in Bolivia? Those are salt flats that seem to stretch forever. There are even hotels made entirely of salt there. This land is also pretty isolated. No people, no cars, just endless white salt. And then, bam! You see a train graveyard. The Cementerio de Trenes is actually just a few old trains. Most of them are from the early 1900s. At that time, they were imported from Britain. Back then, they were planning to turn Uyuni into a massive train hub, connecting different cities. But many things went wrong, and the train station dream was forgotten. These days, the trains really look beat up. They're completely covered in salt, which makes them look as if they've been there for centuries. They're rusty, broken down, and totally weathered. You can explore more than 100 train cars, and each one is different. Some are falling apart, others have graffiti all over them. It just adds to the whole vibe of decay. The next abandoned thing on our list has actually been restored. Ever heard about the American Dream? The world's longest limo? It's a 100-foot machine that's got a helipad on the roof. It's a Cadillac, but not a regular one. Imagine a limo and a cruise ship having a baby. That's the American Dream for you. The thing is super heavy too, weighing around 25,000 pounds. And it was a total wreck before anyone even thought of bringing it back to life. It was just sitting, abandoned in New York, rotting away. Some guys tried fixing it up at the AutoZeum, but that didn't work out. So they tried hauling it to the Deserland Park Car Museum for another shot. The trip wasn't smooth. The hood flew off somewhere along the way and disappeared forever, but they still managed to truck this thing down in pieces. In any case, these two guys, Michael Deser, a real estate mogul, and Michael Manning from AutoZeum, went all out to bring the vehicle back. They chopped up 3 other Cadillacs just to get parts, like new leather, vinyl, and carpets. They even swapped out the engines. The whole thing was so messed up, they basically had to rebuild it. Look at it now! Originally, the limo had 6 Cadillacs all glued together, and the guy who designed it was behind cars like KITT from Knight Rider and the DeLorean from Back to the Future. At one point, the American Dream had 2 engines, TVs, telephones, a jacuzzi, a waterbed, and a swimming pool with a diving board. There was even a swivel function so it could make turns. But I'm not sure if this feature is still there after the restoration. At the moment, the limo's up and running. At the same time, you can't just drive it around like a normal car. It's ridiculously long, and turning is basically impossible. And if you get stuck, well, good luck getting it out. But even with all that, 75 people can fit inside, and it's still got a pool in the back. The interior's not completely finished yet, but still, this thing is insane.
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.